Hello music lovers, New Wave Joe here. You know, over the last few years, I've watched a lot of young goths post their top 10 lists of their favorite goth bands. Now I do want to say that I am very excited over the fact that these young people and older people have continued to engage with and enjoy the goth movement, music, and scene. I happen to be one of them. Though I've never identified as goth, I actually identify, even though my handle is New Wave Joe, as a post-punker. But that aside, I want to point out a few things right now that might make people a little angry. But then again, we know anger draws controversy, and controversy sells. Why would they be angry? Well, what I'm about to tell you might throw you off completely. A number of the bands included on these lists never have and don't identify as goth. What? Yes, that's true. While fans may consider these bands goth, the musicians behind them don't and never have. Frontman Andrew Eltridge of Sisters of Mercy has always considered Sisters a rock band, not a goth band. Joy Division was post-punk all the way, even though their atmospheric sound helped launch the goth movement. Susie and the Banshees never identified as goth. In fact, Susie Sue politely declined the goth label. And I want to remind you that the band originally started as part of the London, UK 1970s punk movement, not the goth scene. 45 Grave is largely considered a pioneering band in the gothic rock movement, but the band itself has always identified as part of the LA punk scene. While Christian Death most certainly pioneered the sound, founding frontman Ross Williams disliked the term goth and refused to accept it during his lifetime. And Killing Joke, while they too pioneered some of the goth sound, they've always considered themselves a post-punk band. Bauhaus has never identified as a goth band. They actually consider themselves dark glam. And finally, The Cure does not and has never identified as goth. In fact, Robert Smith has completely pushed off the idea of being a goth band and basically said that the look he garnished in the early 80s, you know, the teased up hair and the dark makeup and so forth, he copied from Susie and the Banshees, and it was really more about stage performance for him than it was a particular identity. At any rate, I am not here to discourage you from listening to these bands, as they were all pioneers and definitely played key roles in creating the goth sound and movement. With that said, tell me in the comments, what band do you like that falls kind of under the goth label but isn't really goth?